Welcome to the Softland Central podcast, your home for market entry knowledge and resources. Softland Central is brought to you by Softland Partners, an online marketplace to help you find best fit resources for your market entry. Find them at softlandpartners.com.
Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Softland Central. And today we have a real special guest. We have Bart Deelen from Toronto Global with us. And what we're going to do is explore the Toronto marketplace and learn a little bit about Toronto Global and their services. So, Bart, welcome. It's great to have you with us today.
Hi, Bill. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure entirely. So, well, let's dive into it. So, just to frame this, our audience are companies that are expanding internationally, and they could be in any market, going to any market, and really the information that they're going to find most valuable are things that they may not be sort of evident or easy to find from wherever they are. They might be in Europe looking to come to North America, or they might be in Asia or Africa or wherever. And so let's talk a little bit about, and I know your focus is particularly helping European companies come to Toronto, but let's talk about the Toronto marketplace. And what are the things when you're talking to European companies that most attract them to Toronto? What are the things that are real highlights for them?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, not many companies are that familiar with Toronto, right? So they're really focused on the US, which is great. So it's a good conversation starter. And then we really want to put Toronto on their radar. I think what's interesting, Toronto is really competitive when it comes to, New York or San Francisco or Boston. It's really a great alternative, and putting that on their radar and laying that out for them, I think it's valuable. One of the major things, it's a global hub. We're immigration friendly. There's a lot of affinity with the European culture, of course, as well as we're open to immigrants. So I think that's a first thing that's really major. Also, once you're here, it's really easy to do business with the US. So you don't necessarily need to be in the US. So we have obviously access to talent. So we have a large tech talent pool, actually the third largest in North America, and a lot of companies are just not aware of that, as well as competitive salaries. So really that aspect is often a big deal for companies.
And very good beer, we should mention. Toronto.
Very good beer. That's right.
Toronto has many great things. A beautiful city and also just great infrastructure for travel and great restaurants.
You mentioned the prices; they're high.
Yeah. Oh, but it's but what worthwhile that you enjoy doesn't cost you something. So, well, that's interesting. And you mentioned talent and particularly technical talent. What tech verticals would you say are the strongest in the Toronto region? What are there certain verticals that are really align well with the current ecosystem?
I would say all tech verticals in all sectors are pretty strong here. Of course, we're the second largest financial services hub, so fintech is huge. But don't forget food tech, health tech. I mean, those are actually really big sectors here as well. It's a really diverse city, 8 million people and a huge region. So we do cover many sectors. Many tech sectors, advanced manufacturing. So AI, smart technology, I guess, is really up and coming here as well. There's a very interesting local market, but then again, we're also a gateway to the US.
Certainly, and there are several large marketplaces in Canada. Certainly, you go to the West Coast, you have Vancouver. Yep. You're not very far away, obviously, from the capital in Ottawa. And Montreal's a large city, and then certainly the Prince Edward Islands area and so on. Really different quite different regions. But what, across the Canadian market,
Yeah.
what are the differentiations? Because again, our audience most likely doesn't have a great perspective on
Yeah.
the diversity in Canada, which is really
Right.
pretty phenomenal. So how does, what stands out in Toronto versus sort of the rest of the country?
I am of course biased because I work for Toronto Global and I live in Toronto. But honestly, Toronto is the business capital of Canada. We are the largest city. But yes, you have Vancouver, which is there's a lot of business between more of the Asian market because of the time difference. So and the yeah, it's closer to Asia. And Toronto is more geared towards US and Europe. If you look at all the other cities, I mean, we are a metropolitan city. We're much larger, so we really like to compare ourselves to the other large North American cities. But then again, Ottawa has its strengths. The government's there. Defense, cybersecurity is large there. You have Montreal, which is, of course, it's largely French, but a lot going on there. Huge city. They have their own strengths as well. So yeah, so I think Toronto is really different, not only in size but also in sectors. So you, as a company, you need to have certain reasons, but be in a certain sector in order to decide where to go.
Yeah, no, the Toronto always amazes me when I go there, and I think obviously Canada's largest city by population.
Yeah.
But it's probably and you might know this directly, but besides being the largest, it's probably still the fastest growing. I mean, I'm always amazed at the new buildings that are going up, and I'm in the Northeast in the U.S., and it has a very similar feel to me to Boston. Boston, the last 10 years has grown like crazy, and really anywhere you stand in Boston, any direction you look, there's construction going on in new buildings and great new infrastructure going in. And Toronto, to me, feels a lot like that. Are you seeing that same kind of thing?
That's totally right. So I do know we have more cranes than any other city in North America. So we're building a lot of condos and large buildings. So and it has slowed down a little bit, but we're adding about 100,000 immigrants a year to the Toronto region, and another 50,000 within Canada. Those are rough numbers, but due to urbanization, so people just moving to the big city. So yeah, it's growing really, really fast. And again, talking about tech, also we're the largest or the fastest growing tech tech talent pool in North America. So that's huge. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, let's switch gears and talk about Toronto Global. And if I were, and obviously again, your particular focus is Europe to Toronto, but if I were, let's say, in Germany or the Netherlands or in the UK, what as a European company, what services could I benefit from that you offer in coming or exploring the Toronto marketplace?
Yeah. So from the very start, we are here to help build a business case, right? So assist the company with their decision-making process, what kind of office do they want to set up in North America? What do they want to do? So we have our own research insights team that's very valuable. So they build a custom business case. We'll compare Toronto to other cities and compare salary cost of living and quality of life, and we'll put everything in there. So we do that, and then once they're ready to visit us physically, we'll create a program for them. So like a fact-finding trip, they can come and visit us. We'll show them around. We'll make sure they meet the right people, and really we make connections here to all the service providers. So if they need to set up, in corporate, so have a Canadian entity, if they are looking to hire people, looking for office space, open up a bank account, all these things, we'll be able to help with that. And we have, of course, very close ties with the government because we're funded by the government. It's not only free, but we have connections with, on federal level, provincial level, and the municipalities. So we can really help them in many ways. Yeah.
That's great. And it sounds like your service is obviously very expansive, but it sounds like if it's something you don't do, you know someone who does. So whether you're directly supporting, whether it's the research or the facilitation, or you can get them to the sort of best of breed resource to help them navigate the process.
That's our main job. We're not the specialists in all these in all the different areas, but we do know the right people. So we'll make sure we make that connection when we can. Yeah.
That's cool. So I have kind of one last question for you, and that is, obviously you've seen lots of companies enter Canada, enter Toronto, and do really well, and others maybe not do so well. But when you think about the companies that succeed in marketplace entry, what are the kind of attributes, the top attributes that they have that are maybe different from the companies that don't do quite as well? Are there some keys that you see to being successful?
Absolutely, yeah. So a couple of things are important. First of all, having clients in Canada or the US to start with is very important. Or it tells us that there's a good chance they'll succeed here as well. So the business development part is important. Also, when a company receives funding, that's a good sign. So they're ready to expand. And the business development parts, those are really ingredients we see are really important. If you move here without knowing the market, having clients and having the funding, really, then it makes it extra hard, and you need those ingredients. Yeah,
that's great. So I hear funding, or I should say sales, funding, and then sort of the internal infrastructure to sort of support expansion. Or it sounds like the three biggies.
Yeah, and maybe something extra is to you need people on the ground here, right? So it's a networking culture, as you know. So people like to speak to people face to face. If you're doing it from a long distance and you just you're making a trip every year to see your client, that just it won't cut it. So you need someone on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I have yet to go to a marketplace where relationships aren't important, right? I mean, that familiarity and the sort of shared experiences and all those types of things. As much as we love Zoom, it
can be a deal breaker.
Yeah. I mean and I think we hear better when we see, right? I mean, we get much more information when we walk into somebody's facility and we see how they work and all those types of things. So it just allows us to relate and serve much better, I think.
Absolutely.
This has been so great. I really, really appreciate you taking the time today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share in closing?
Well, I would just invite anyone who hasn't seen Toronto to come and see it. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Definitely to the Europeans who might not be familiar, come and see us, and you'll be surprised. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Bart. It was great, and really appreciate you sharing all the information. We'll make sure that we share your contact details in the description here as well. And certainly everybody that's listening, feel free to reach out to Bart directly, and certainly like and subscribe so you can stay tuned with all the upcoming topics.
Thanks for having me,
Bart.
Bill.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thanks everybody for listening.